software on how they can really elevate their game by selling on webinars.
Gotcha, gotcha. And what was your experience like going to London and speaking and meeting other people?
It was different because the audience, the people who were there, uh, it's a different culture, and so I'm seeing, I'm driving on the other side of the road and seeing different foods, talking to people who are part of a different culture. So it was really awesome to go ahead and see what it's like to live on the other side of the pond, as they say.
Awesome, awesome. Well, for today's podcast, since I know we're committing to doing more content and even sharing practical tools and things like that as we get the ideas, I want to focus on something very important, which is as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, we've had this discussion before on the podcast. Many times there's a lot going on, whether it's building the team, building the SOPs, and strategy funnels, all that fun stuff. Marketing also is important.
Yeah.
But this week, I want to definitely focus this episode on three things an entrepreneur can do if they're kind of in that blockage of either trying to get a big ticket sell or even getting a sell, especially since we're going into a new month. So May is wrapping up, and someone is, looking into June, and maybe they might be a little bit flustered. They haven't hit their sales goal or something like that. So, what would be your tip number one? If someone's right now, it's Tuesday, we're doing this live, and they want to celebrate a win this week, what would be tip number one for an entrepreneur to get a sale?
The first thing that I would tell you, if you're looking to get a sale this week, like this week, is you want to identify what is your massive action. Everyone's massive action is different. Sometimes a massive action is like, I'm gonna send an email to my entire database, right? So like, for example, I've been collecting emails and phone numbers and generating leads for so many years, and I've been doing it aggressively since 2016. So I have hundreds of thousands of people that I've spoken to, whether it's internationally through webinars, partnerships, people who I've done deals with to drive me drive traffic to my landing pages. So I've been doing that aggressively since I can remember, since 2016. And so a massive action could be like you acquiring emails, for example, and when you have this list, you send a huge email blast to everyone, letting them know about your offer. That's one massive action. Another level of a massive action could just be making that phone call to someone that you know, that may be of high echelon, and you want to reach out to them and ask them for a favor, or put you in touch with someone who knows that can help you out in generating revenue. So you want to identify what your level of massive action is, and then take it as soon as possible. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. If you remember, uh, because I'm going back and forth about buying a luxurious car again, or not getting a luxurious car again, and investing that money into real estate. So you and I have been talking about that. And while you and I were on the phone talking about, hey, should we get the luxurious car again? And what's the strategy behind it between using it as a marketing asset or not? Uh, you had mentioned I talked to you about one of my mentors, and I said, hey,
Yeah.
what would one of my mentors do? And you said, why don't you reach out to him and ask? And I was like, I haven't reached out to him, actually in a few months, to hit him up outside of the blue to say, hey, what do you suggest about me buying this expensive ass car? And on the call, we got a response, and he was super excited. Now we're scheduling some time for me to go out to Los Angeles and spend some time with him. And his business does $200 million today. And if I didn't take that action, which at that time for me in that moment was kind of a massive action to reach out to somebody, I haven't reached out in a few months, and to ask for advice, that was like for me at that moment when I was on the phone with you talking to you about, hey, should we buy this car or not? That massive action was for me, like, contact him, and without hesitating, without thinking about it, while I was on the phone with you, I took action. So you want to identify what is your massive action to help you get a sale. It could be a relationship, it could be a strategy, it could be a marketing experience, it could be running Facebook ads, but only you know what is that big thing that you got to do. For everyone is going to be at a different level. So for me, it might be calling on some really powerful celebrities and saying, "Put me on a Facebook Live in front of your audience and let's do a deal." Like, it could be that, or it could be something as simple as going down the street, knocking on a door, and saying, "Hey, would you like to buy my product?"
Gotcha, gotcha. So step number one would be whether it's sending that email, making the call, sending a text, like just get the movement, the action step going. Is that what you're saying for number one?
Yeah, yeah, like really identify what is that big thing, and then just taking action on it. So that's number
Okay,
one.
so they would have to do that like today, not like I'm gonna plan and schedule it to take action. Like, no, do it today as you're listening. You can do it right now, multitasking, send that text, send an email, commit to taking that first step.
Yeah, you want to take action today. I'll give you an example. The mentor that I'm talking, I won't say his name, but the mentor that I'm talking about has been. I've had a relationship with him since 2017. I remember when his business was doing 40 something million, $47 million. I think he's one of the first people that gave me access to a Lamborghini to drive, and I going to his house, spending time with him, connecting with him, talking about God with him, talking about relationships. This was before I got married. So I was getting advice from entrepreneur about relationships, about money mindset, so on and so forth. Today, his business does 200 million. So between 2017 to now, he's grown tremendously. And I remember the exact moment that I started the relationship with him and how it all started. It's coming from what I'm telling you right now. Take massive action. So here's the story. I was walking down the street and I was selling. At the time, I was selling tickets to seminars. So this was back in the day when I was selling tickets to seminars, and I had to cold call, and I had to cold calls up on the phone, and then there's another term called cold call, which is knocking on doors. So I would go to doors that of business owners of businesses that didn't know who I was, didn't like me, didn't trust me, that had no clue who I was whatsoever, and I had to convince them to do business with me. And I was at the time I was like 20 something years old, 21, 22, and I went to this gentleman's office. At the time he probably has, I don't know, a few hundred employees, and I went to his office and I went to speak to his vice president of sales. Now his vice president of sales is a great friend of mine today. I was just texting him about doing an investment with him, so we're good friends today. But back then I went to his vice president and I said, hey, I want to sell your company tickets to an event. And they were like, what the heck? But their company is very much all about mindset, all about creating revenue, creating sales. And I was hosting an event at the time called Southern California Sales Growth Conference, and it was on September 29th, 2017. I remember that to like the back of my head. And I remember walking up to this door and thinking to myself, to this gentleman's door, before I talked to the vice president, before I talked to anybody, I said, this is a big building, a lot of employees here. Should I talk to anybody here? I don't know anyone, no one knows me. Maybe I should turn around and go back to like some of the small mom and pop businesses. And to me at that time, the massive action was knocking on this door. So even though I felt this fear, I realized fear was a direction. So I took action and I went in, knowing damn well that I wasn't ready, that I wasn't prepared. But I knew that fear is a direction. So that nervousness in your stomach, it's like, oh, I'm nervous, I'm fearful, I don't know if I should or if I shouldn't. That feeling, just do it anyway. And then if you really feel nervous, like experience the feelings after it's done. Like after you do that thing, that's when you can sit down and with it and experience the emotions and be like, oh, like I'm so scared, I'm so nervous. Experience it after it's done. So like in that moment, I knocked it on the vice president's door, and the vice president said, ironically, Andy, at this time, we're looking to get this gentleman on stages, the CEO of the company. So the vice president I'm talking to, and the CEO is running this at the time a $47 million company, and he's like the vice president says we're looking to get the CEO on stages at this specific moment. We're looking to see if that's going to be a great avenue to grow our business. So ironically, could you get him on stage? And one of the first speaking events. Now this gentleman is on TV today. He's on TV. Him and his wife is on TV. The $200 million business today. You walk into the house, they got the Lamborghinis, they got the whole house, they got the Lamborghinis, the whatever car you can think of is they're part of it, flying private. They're doing literally, I think what we calculated, like $4 million a week. And back then, the first stage, one of the first stages that he got on to speak on was Andy Audate's stage. That started his speaking journey. And I came in at the right time. Had I waited 2 weeks, I would have missed the opportunity. Had I waited 2 days, I would have missed the opportunity. Because ironically, babe, what ended up happening is as I left the vice, so I went to go do the deal with the vice president. The vice president says, Andy, you know what? We're looking to get him on stage. Why don't you come back 2 days later? 2 days later, as I come back, I go meet with the vice president again. The CEO is leaving the office to go into his BMW i8, which is an expensive car. And I walk up to him and I say, "Sir, my name is Andy Audate. I'm actually talking to your vice president about getting you on stage. Uh, I look forward to getting you on stage. These are some of the events that I host." And he's like, "Dude, that is so awesome. Like, let's connect. Let me give you my phone number. I want to learn about this speaking and getting on stages. I know how to sell. I know how to close deals. I know how to create partnerships. I know how to build a business. I just don't know how to speak on stage or that experience yet." Had I waited 2 days, I would have missed that opportunity because it was a specific moment that the CEO of the company was A, in the office, B, walking out of the office because you can't have access to his office, B, walking out of his office, and then C, actually walking to the car, and then D, I happened to cross paths. If I waited, I would have missed the opportunity. So I share with you, you don't want to wait on things. You don't want to hesitate. If as soon as the idea clicks in your head, like this is the massive action to take to get a sale, take it now.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying for sure. So it's like you just don't know what's on the other side the moment you take action. Now, what would you say? That's really good. So take action is number one. What would you say number two is?
Take number two is ask questions. So now that you're in front of people, like by taking this massive action, you should be in front of somebody. That's what that massive action should be. Is you should be in front of somebody. Now that you're in front of a group, it could be a group of people, it could be a person. Then the next thing is ask questions to identify their need. Now you should be in the sales process because this massive action is really about you getting in front of somebody. So you're identifying who can you get in front of by taking that massive action. Now, the next thing is you're going to ask questions. So if you send out an email blast, let's say that was your massive action, like I'm going to email everybody. If that's your massive action, then you want to get on a phone call with somebody or a Zoom call with somebody or an in-person meeting. So now that you're in front of somebody, ask questions to identify how what they need. Because sales is not about I have this product, let me pitch it to you. It's I believe you may have a need that my product solves. If you can have that pivot where coming from a desperate person, I remember gr- building our our businesses. I remember experiencing this feeling of like, I know I need to make money right now. I need to make money right now, but you can never like you would never experience that I was desperate. So I remember in 2016 going to these seminars and events, and I had to sell products, I had to sell tickets, and I need to create revenue, and no one would know. I used to walk into suits and so on and so forth, and no one would know that I needed to make sales today. So and it's because I was more curious than presenting. The sales process, majority of the sales process is actually you qualifying, you asking questions to identify a need that your prospect may have, the person who could purchase your product may have. So, for example, if you send out the email blast, ask them to get on the phone. If you are cold calling, setting up appointments, get them on the phone, meet with that person, and then identify what do they need in their business. So, spend 80% of the conversation asking questions to identify. So for example, that could look like, so tell me about like what your long-term goal is for your business, or what is your long-term vision for what you're creating here. Why are you creating this business? And just ask with curiosity. Why are you creating this business? Who does what is with you accomplishing your goal, what does success look like for you? Why is that important for you? Who does it impact? What inspired you to create this? That is interesting. I've never heard of something like this. Like go really dig deep to understand. That's going to be number two. Ask as many questions as you can. I know, for example, right now we're looking at hiring a couple of customer success managers, and Dana, who's our company manager, sent me the recordings in Slack. Sent me the recordings while I was on my trip in London this weekend, and she's letting me know like, hey, these are the two recordings of group interviews. So I don't know. She may have interviewed maybe 8 people, 8 or 9 people, and I watched all of it, the whole entire recording. But what I was more interested in was the person who asked questions because so Dana, our company manager, is asking like 8 people between 2 Zoom calls, 8 or 9 people between 2 Zoom calls. Dana's the one who's our company manager. She already works for us. She's asking questions to this group of individuals. How long have you done customer success work? What does customer success look like to you? How can you help Progretta grow, and so on and so forth. And then at the end, she finalizes the interview and she says, "Okay, we'll let you know. Do you guys have any questions?" Only two people asked questions. Only two people were pivot and ask questions, which was more so like, "Why are you hiring a customer success manager? What does success of customer management look like for you?" And those two people are the ones who got an offer letter yesterday. Why? Because at the end, I literally smiled and I said, a lot of them were great in their responses, but there was only two people that was more intrigued about what we were looking for. And Dana, of course, answered. And then those two people I sent to Dana on Slack. I said, "Hey, these are my top two." And she says, "Ironically, Andy, those are my top two as well." Why? Because they're asking questions. So if you're looking to get in, you want to ask and identify questions and really have curiosity to identify why your product is actually going or your service is going to be valuable for the person that you're trying to sell it to. That's number two. So you've already taken massive action. Number two is now that you're in front of someone, before you start talking about what you sell, why you sell it, stop talking about yourself. Ask questions to identify what they need, so that way they can give you that information to help you make a sale.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, I agree. That is very, very important. And what would you say action item number one is so that they can get a sale, the next 3 to 4 days, celebrate a win on Friday?
Number one is going to be take massive action to get in front of people. Number two is going to be uh, ask questions now that you're in front of people. Whether you're in front of a person or you're in front of people, ask questions. You could do a group sale. You could do get a group if it makes you uncomfortable. By the way, get a lot of people on Zoom and literally try to pitch the whole group. They might not know each other. That's called a webinar, by the way. They might not know each other and ask them questions. Ask the group questions like, "Hey, the reason I'm here is because I want to identify you. You are all business owners. You all have a goal to grow your business. Let me ask you a question here. Does anyone not have a goal to grow your business? Everyone's not gonna do anything. If it's a small group, you can have people unmute themselves. If it's a larger group, then you can have people put the answer in the chat box in the comment section and say, uh, are you all committed to grow your business? If so, put a one in the chat box if you're all committed to growing your business. All right. So these are asking questions. These are probing questions that you're asking to really identify their need. Then number three is present an offer. Present an offer. I hear it so often that I'm like, "I'm on a sales call, Andy. I'm doing it. I'm on a sales call. I did everything that you said. I took action. I asked questions, and I said, okay, awesome. Did you? How much was the offer that you asked them to buy?" And they're like, "Oh, this I didn't get that far. I didn't ask them to buy anything. So where at what point were they gonna make money? At what point were you gonna make a sale?" So number three, you want to present an offer and close on the offer. So present and close. If we're gonna smash three together with two action items, number one in number three is you're gonna present an offer and you're gonna close the offer. Now, presenting the offer is showcasing the price and the proposed line item that you're gonna give it to them. So I'm telling you, I'm gonna give you X for X dollars. It's nothing like, well, I can give you the software. It's gonna be like around $3.99 a month. That's not an offer. That's not a presentation. A presentation is what I suggest is for you to join our platinum plan. On our platinum plan, you're gonna have your funnels, your websites, and your membership site, and that usually is $497, but you're gonna get it for $399 today. That's a presentation. The close is let's get you started today. Visa, Mastercard, American Express, or Discover to get you started. The close is the request to make the transaction final. The close is the request or the guidance to make the transaction final, where you're guiding the customer to make the decision to make the transaction final. That's the close. So you want to present and close on the deal. So now, number one, you took massive action to get in front of people. Sent out the email, sent out the text message, sent out the calls, sent out whatever you had to do. You ask your friend, you ask a mentor, you ask somebody to get in front of somebody who could potentially buy. That was number one. Number two is that now you probed, you ask questions to identify the need. Now that you have the need, present the solution and close it. Hey, based on what I've understood on today's call, what you need is you need a technology, you need a software that's going to support you in organizing your database. And you also need a tool to be able to track your sales appointments and remind your customers so that way they show up. Is that what I'm understanding, Mr. John? Yes. Okay, great. Based on what you've shared with me so far, what I would suggest is that you get our Progretta Platinum plan. And on our Progretta Platinum plan, you're going to have a calendar feature to track all your sales appointments because one of the things you mentioned to me when I was asking you some questions is that you need a tool to track all your sales appointments. Also, number two, one of the things that you need is a system to automatically remind your customers of the appointment so that way they show up. Because one of the things you mentioned to me is that you have a challenge with getting people to show up. So on our platinum plan, there are two things that's going to be tremendously important for you. Number one is our calendar system, which is going to track all your appointments and allow people to self book on your calendar at a time that you're available. And number two, inside of our software, there's a system called workflows or a feature called workflows. And on the workflows, it will automatically remind each person who books an appointment with you to show up to your calendar. So that way you're not no longer missing book calls. Now, your goal, based on our conversation, is to get 50 sales appointments a month right now, and have those that system automatically remind all 50s to show up. Is that correct, Mr. John? Okay, great. Thank you, Mr. John, for that answer. So the software cost is $399 a month, but with that $399 investment every single month, you're gonna have a system to automatically track all your appointments, have people self book, and it would automatically remind without you having to put any effort towards sending emails or text messages to remind them. Okay, so let's get you started today, Mr. John. The investment today is $399. Would you be using a Visa, a MasterCard, American Express, or Discover? And that's when Mr. John makes a decision to buy your product.
Gotcha. So it's pretty much asking for this, like the commitment, not like, oh, I'll call you back later. We can circle back. None of that. Like, oh, I'll send me an email or I gotta think about it. If you want to get a sale in the next by this week, you have to ask for it. Like get commitment basically.
Yeah, get commitment. I'll give you a scenario. Like right now, we're buying a software for like in Progretta, we're buying a software to automatically pay our affiliates. So right now, that's a manual process, and this software is gonna essentially what it's gonna do is gonna connect with our Stripe, and it's gonna show who on our affiliates of Progretta created sales, and we're gonna have a one button to press, and it will take the money out of our bank account, of our operating expense account, and pay out our affiliates and to their bank accounts. So this is a cool, nifty software, and it's like one little piece to like the many pieces of Progretta's infrastructure. And so we needed this because the journey will happen to be manual. And the person who's looking to sell this us a software, they've been calling me. They just called me right now while I'm on this podcast. The thing is, every time that I'm like, yes, this is what I need, they're like, let me get back to you with a price. Let me get back to you with a proposal, right? And I'm like, man, I was just in London. You couldn't reach me unless you had my direct cell phone number, right? So like the my business line was not effective, like it wasn't active, right? You had to leave a voicemail because I was unless you had my personal cell phone number. So this person doesn't have my personal cell phone number; they have my business number. So the time I remember for days they're calling me, and every time they call me, I'm on a podcast, I'm on a meeting, I'm trying to do a deal, and then I'm like, yes, I know I need to get back in touch with this person, but is that my number one priority today? No, right now we already have a process to make payments to our affiliates. It's one of those things of like it's a nice to have, right? It's a nice to have that I could press one button rather than that. Currently, we just download a sheet and upload a sheet to make payments, right? That's our current process. To press one button, it's a few $1,000 investment for us, but it's a nice to have. Like I'm okay with the current process of downloading it manually, uploading it. It only takes nothing but a couple minutes, and but to streamline and to automate workflows and processes, I'd rather press a button. Cool. I'm willing to invest a few $1,000s to press that button and have that system set up. The person who's been calling me, she's been calling me aggressively. It's just every time that she calls, I just happen to be on a meeting or something. Like she just called right before this podcast. And I'm like, oh man, you just missed me. right? There was one day that she called me. I happened to pick up because I was driving on my way to the office. She hasn't reached out to any of my team members to book an appointment. That's what I would have done. She hasn't reached out to anybody to book an appointment. She just calls, and when she calls, she just happens to miss me. There was a time that I picked up, and I said, "Yes, I want to sign up. Let's sign me up. Let's do the deal." And she's like, "Okay, let me send you the proposal." I'm like, "Okay, send me the proposal." And it's just like, okay, the proposals in my inbox. Maybe I don't know. I just landed from London yesterday. I just got back. I got a couple of things on my to do list. I got a couple of things with my team. I got meetings. I got a training in an hour. I got a meeting in 5 minutes. I got a training with clients in an hour, and then I have a workshop today, a webinar today. So I have all of these things that I booked. It's taking my attention, and all that she had to do is let's get you started today. Visa, Mastercard, American Express, and I would have said, all right, the Visa card number is 4444. Like it would have moved quickly. But because it's like, let me send you a proposal, let me get back to you, let me so on and so forth. And she's leading the call. So by her leading the call, it's like me saying, okay, I'll allow you to send me the proposal. If that's the process, send me the proposal. But I'm a businessman and I'm traveling, speaking, meeting clients, so on and so forth. My calendar is booked out for weeks ahead. It's hard to get, and those are the people that make the easiest decision. Like someone like myself, for me to invest a few $1,000s, I invest it and I move on. It's not a big deal to me, and they make the easiest decisions. The challenging part is when you're working with someone who is going to accept that journey of let me get a proposal, let me go back and forth, let me cuddle with you, let me send you this, let me send you some gift. Like this back and forth, you're wasting time. So if you want to get a sale today, ask Visa, Mastercard, American Express, or Discover. Let's get you started. You're either gonna A, find the real answer of them not signing up in the first place, or B, you're gonna get paid. So either one, you want to know fast. You want to identify, are they not going to sign up in the first place rather than you spending weeks, or are they going to sign up today? And if they're going to sign up today, then you just take payment.
Yeah, that's very important. I'm a quick decision maker too, and whenever someone makes it hard for me to make payment, I kind of get like, well, our schedule is so packed and busy that
Yeah,
we're like, if you have our undivided attention, that's probably the time when we would sign up. Trying to get back on the calendar, trying to get back on our schedule, it's really hard. So I agree, that's very important. Well, that wraps up the session. So we have three key things that someone can implement. I would definitely recommend going back, writing it down, and applying it. And would love to hear on the comments your experience. How many emails did you send? How many calls? How many presentations and closings did you do? Is
yeah.
there
Let us know
anything else you want to add, Andy?
the opportunities when you take action. If you are looking to win this week, the next month, you got to take action. Not any level of action. I'm not talking about like, hey, I just sent that one email to that one person. Let's hope. I'm talking about massive action. The thing that's gonna make you super uncomfortable. The thing that's gonna make be like, are you crazy? I can't do that. That's what's gonna make sure that you create wins this week.
Definitely. Well, we look forward to the next session so we can continue to share some more tips. You all have a great rest of your day.
All right, y'all.